was a point guard, I was a shooting guard. You do everything, right? And that's also when you realize that you're the person on the team that's the best at every single position. I think that's a problem. That's when you can start to realize if you're in high school and you're better than the post player, you're better than the point guard at dribbling, you can shoot better than the shooting guard. I think that's your first red flag, right?
You need to get out of there,
right? If you're on a good team, you might be the best at your role, and you might be the best player overall, sure, but there's things that other people do better than you, right? Because then you're not being challenged enough, if not, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think just at the end of the day, playing roles. I was a shooter by the end of my senior year of college, but going into it, my freshman year, I only took 8 threes, I think, my entire freshman year. But I developed my role. So just because you come in with a certain role or certain responsibility, right? I was more of a post up, a mid-sized post player in the mid post, more mid-range shots. I worked on it. By my senior year, I was firing up 3 balls like no other. So if you put in the work, your role does not always have to stay the same. You accept your role, you embrace it while you're there, but then you're always working to expand that role.
I love it. Jen, I have to give you credit because I think you are the only person that has said this to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I paid you to say it or I kind of nudged you to say it. You just came out and said it. And that was the whole mentality about Division I.
Right.
Now, being a player that came from a Division I, you could have done what most do, and that is stroke your ego, puff up your chest, and say D1 or nothing. If you don't play D1, you suck. All this stuff, but you didn't choose to do so. So, talk to me about what led you to even have that mentality to say, you know what, find the best fit instead of like D1 or nothing.
Right. So I think when it comes down to your junior, senior year, you're starting to get recruited. Normally when you first start getting recruited, you'll have a whole bunch of schools that will come after you, different levels, right? And when you start getting some high interest schools looking at you, you might start to just, unintentionally shrug off the mid-major or the lower major schools. But then as time passes, a lot of those high major schools will end up dropping off, right? If they get other commitments, right? And now if you shut out all the opportunities that you had from those mid-major or lower major schools, right, you're kind of left with nothing. I know way too many people who thought they were going to go higher than they did, missed out on that opportunity, and then they didn't keep in touch with the coaches that really, really wanted them. And they were pretty much left to either go to a JUCO or they were left to just, pretty much last resort, choose whatever they had to do. So at the end of the day, I think you should always keep your options open, right? Again, obviously, if you have more schools recruiting you, you can be a little bit pickier. But just because you're going to a mid-major school, a lot of these mid-major programs in women's basketball specifically can beat a high major program on any day of the week, right? Just Quinnipiac, for example, the school I went to. 2017, we fly down to Miami, Florida for the NCAA tournament. We beat Marquette, which was an upset. We were a 12 seed. They were a 5 seed. First win in our first NCAA tournament in program history. Then we beat Miami on their home floor, right, to get us to the Sweet 16. So it just shows you, over the years that mid-major programs, lower major programs, at the end of the day, on any given day, that's the better team's going to win. And mid-major programs can definitely do that. So I don't think that you should, shut out those lower schools, especially if you know that you can make more of an impact at that mid-major level. It's really up to your priorities, right? Do you want to get playing time and contribute, or do you just want to go to a really high major school to get some cool gear and say that I'm at this program? So and again, there's no right or wrong though, right? If you go to that school and you want to be a part of a great program, that has a dynasty, big name, that's fine. But don't complain when you're sitting the bench, when you know you could have went somewhere else if playing time was your priority.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, for me, my story, I took the long way around. I redshirted my first year. I went to a junior college for 2 years. I sat out for 2 more years. And then I went to a Division II school in Arkansas, and I have no regrets. I enjoyed my process. I was able to play.
You loved every minute of it, right?
Every minute of it. I look back and I'm so proud that I had the opportunity to be a part of it. But I think to myself of how sorry I would feel if I said, you know what? I'm not going to jump on this opportunity because it's not Division I. I'm not going to jump on this opportunity because they're not on TV. I'm not going to jump on this opportunity because, I don't know, they're not big enough. I mean, that would have been the wrong way of thinking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I just from my perspective when playing AAU, there's just so many players that have were good players in high school, but chose to go to the most challenging of programs. They get there for a year, they look really good because they're wearing the uniform. They get no burn, no minutes, and then a lot of them they don't want to wait till their sophomore or junior year to play. When you go to those big time schools, as a freshman, you're women's basketball at least. You're not usually going to get a lot of playing time freshman year, and the problem is that a lot of these kids aren't mentally tough enough to wait that out to say, okay, next year's my turn. They don't want that. They want results, instant gratification right away. So they end up transferring after a year, and then they end up back at that mid-major, that lower major school that might have recruited them before if they still have openings there. So that's what I see a lot of. It's 1 year, I go, I commit, I don't play, and now I want out.
Hoop Loud E.